News senior political analyst Brit Hume joins us now. Is this the argument about why an outsider doesn't make the most sense, Brit?
Well, it depends on the outsider, Megyn. When Ronald Reagan, who, although he'd been governor of California, came to Washington to be president, he had been speaking and writing on national and international issues for years, and he brought a philosophy and a broad concept of foreign policy with some specificity and details to the task. And that is something we have yet to see, as Marco Rubio correctly points out about Donald Trump. Rubio's point is well taken, especially in this. He makes the point that foreign policy is the province of the government, not just the government, the federal government. And not just the federal government, but the executive branch of the federal government, and that falls principally, therefore, on the president. And I've always thought that the real job, the main job, the big job of any president was the conduct of foreign policy and national defense. And that is an area where Donald Trump, to date, to be fair, to date, has not said very much. He's talked about how he's going to build the strongest military, one so strong that no one would dare challenge us. And he's talked about his negotiating skills and how he'd put them to work as president, and how he would negotiate and indeed even get along with Vladimir Putin and others. But so far, that's about all he's really given us. Now, he promises more, and perhaps in time he will produce more. But I really do think it's not unreasonable to say that he needs to.
He promises more on some subjects, but then he had this interesting exchange with Hewitt this week, where Hewitt pressed him on what he would do if Pakistan, which has nukes, went rogue, and this is how Trump answered.
You have to have a certain, people can't know exactly what your intentions are. You want to have a certain amount of, you want to have a little bit of guesswork for the enemy. And I just don't want to be telling people, and this is, by the way, this has nothing to do with lack of knowledge, because I think I know as much about Pakistan as most other people. But I will tell you, I don't want to broadcast my intentions.
Is that fair?
Well, once campaigning can be defined, running for president can be defined as broadcasting your intentions. Now, that does not mean that if you have a military operation in mind, or a particular strategy of attack or counterattack or defense, that you would articulate that. But it does mean that when somebody talks about some possibility like Pakistan going rogue, which is certainly not outside the realm of possibility, you got to do better than to say, I don't want to tell you. I mean, I think that's probably not going to stand, and I suspect perhaps he knows that and will attempt to have better answers in the future. But over time, as this goes on, national security will become, I think, a more important part of the debate than it has been so far. And he'll be expected to have some more specific answers.
How big a role do you think that played in the softening we saw in Trump's poll numbers, in that CNN poll? A lot of people are saying, look at these other polls. Those other polls have online components, and thus they are unreliable and are not cited by Fox News ever. Not just in this race. We don't cite those polls because you go online, you can vote it many times, and it's not that reliable. Anyway, how big a role do you think the foreign policy exchange that Trump had, in particular with Free Arena and Rubio, on Russia and Putin, had on the softening we saw in his numbers?
It's really impossible to say, and I'm a little concerned about that particular CNN poll. Anyway, it was a sample of, 404 voters, plus or minus 5-point margin of error.
Too big?
So before we can conclude that he's really taken a hit, it seems to me we may want to wait to see some more polls, and it's hard to know what everybody was thinking. But there's going to be more said about this, and more answers will be expected. And I think that what the effect of the Rubio comment today would be to raise the issue in a way that will make sure that it comes up again and that he's presented with it again and again.
Well, in the meantime, Trump retweeted something calling him Marco Amnesty last night. So you can sort of already see where the line of argument is going to go.
It never fails, does it?